We'll get to it. We call the meeting, the October 8th meeting of the Planning Board of Brookfield to order.
Okay.
We'll do the roll call.
The time now is 6:35 p.m. The date is October 8th, 2012. Gary Ciccarone.
Here.
Rick Charette.
Present.
Steve Michalski.
Here.
Ed Nason.
Present.
Jim Freeman.
Here.
Rob Collins.
He's away. He'll be back.
Clifton Camp. Ed Camo.
Here.
And so we're missing Rob Collins.
Yeah. Ed, would you agree to be Rob tonight?
I agree.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a lot on the plate tonight. So let's take them in order on the agenda. Announcements, correspondence, and mail. I'm going to leave that alone for the moment because a lot of that has to do with our business tonight in the new business department that we have to deal with, and I don't want to explain it at this point. We'll just get to it when we get to it. I'd like to go through the other things. We've had Bob Bordeaux is in tonight for the Moose Mountain endeavors, and we want to get to that and not inconvenience him too much. So we'll just shift the announcement and the correspondence and mail around a little bit because it is pertinent to something we have to deal with. It's going to take a little time. Public comments and opportunities for comments from the public will be provided at times and matters discussed by show of hand and recognition by the chair. People can, Cliff is here. So people can get involved with what we're about to undertake tonight anyway. Are there any comments from the public that have anything to do with things other than, okay. So we're going to go through the minutes, review them and approve them, or not approve them. So that's the next item. Pardon me? Oh, anybody see any anomalies or anything I haven't picked up?
Mr. Chairman, under new business, about the display that was offered to the town called the Listening Post.
Yep.
There should be some reference in there about the granite State Future Sustainable Communities Initiative.
Okay, we can write that in and amend that. Suggest some verbiage.
Provided the display as means of receiving suggestions from town residents in reference to the Granite State Future Agreement or the Federal Sustainable Communities Initiative.
So between residents, from town residents and wanted input, where's that gonna go between?
From town residents, comma, in reference to
Okay, in reference to,
the Granite State Future Agreement.
I don't have a problem with that. Do you get all that, George?
Could you repeat that one more time, Ed, just to make sure? So between residents and...
Residents, comma, in reference to the Granite State Future Agreement.
That's a good point, because it doesn't explain that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I remind you and the rest of the board that the minutes are to reflect what was actually said, not intent. So as long as it was actually said,
He said it.
because I wasn't there, I'm
Yeah, he
just
said
saying.
it, yeah. He definitely said it. He
Okay.
explained it in
That's
great
fine.
detail, actually.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to ask Ed a question. You said in reference to the Granite State Future Agreement, Jim was suggesting initiative at the end of that, is that right?
Which is also known as the Sustainable Communities Initiative.
Thank you. Okay.
Do I hear any motions from?
I would move that we accept the minutes as amended.
Second. Okay, minutes have been, a motion to accept, and a second. Do we have any other discussion? No? All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Exceptions?
Abstentions.
Excuse me, abstentions?
I can be an exception too.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, the meeting, the minutes are now accepted. Okay. Now, let me take Bob's things out here. Where are we? New business. We are going to hand these out. Give me a second, I'll get them out. We have a presentation from Mr. Bordeaux. There are maps and there's other things here. I have all this stuff on my desk and I gotta get to it, so. What kind of envelope go with the other things in?
Can I help you?
Yeah, there's another envelope with,
Nothing in here.
I might have put it back inside the office, I don't think so. Take a- No, they're all here, okay. Okay. Yep. I'm gonna give each one of you these. They've been here for a while, you could have picked it up, but it's okay. Ed?
Yep.
Steve? Ed? You have one?
Yes, I have.
Oh, you are, you don't need
I was
that.
gonna hand some.
Oh, Jim, I'm sorry. There you go. And we'll put Rob's away for Cliff, sorry. We have one for Rob. Okay, why don't everybody read this and get on the page. think everybody's got a pretty good look at it by now. Bob, do you have any other comments you would like to add to this
No,
presentation?
basically what I just wanted to point out is kind of the intent. And then I was hoping via map and kind of outlaying how the hole's gonna play that, you know, we're using, in most cases, the existing features that are already there. When you factor in the logs and the tubing and what we're using now with the snow machine trail, we're using very little of the land other than what we're currently using now. It's all staying on a lower level. You know, it's really not changing much, so.
It's pretty explanatory. Does anybody on the board have questions?
The only question I had from the papers there were the open hours unstaffed. It would close down at a reasonable hour.
Well, you know, it'll close down at dark, most of them play.
I just wondered about people
Well,
hanging
most-
out and partying kind of.
Yeah.
We're not gonna light the trail so we can play at night?
No, most of them are
Midnight
open,
golf?
you know, you get the early birds that are gonna be there at the crack of dawn, and then some of them that, you know, get out of work and might try to shoot around and finish up a little late. And that's kind of where we're really not sure whether that's one or two people, whether we'll be staffing or try to figure out some peak hours, but, the property now is just subject to unbelievable amount of traffic and hikers and hunters, and you just can't believe the people that are in there on a regular basis. And you know, having a guy go up and shoot around a golf should really change that, because the traffic up there is pretty crazy.
You mean around the whole property?
Yes.
I imagine there was quite a bit of that before you
Yeah.
even came on the scene, the hikers.
Hikers,
and-
hunters, just, it's unbelievable, you know.
And you're amenable to all that traffic, right?
It's a nice recreation area.
Anyone else? Well,
Does this course go outside of your into current use land?
No, it stays below the. you
Well,
know,
I was wondering, you've got this boxed in up here on this, I'll walk over here. Where this is all boxed in here?
Oh, that's just a drawing, that the soil, this is from a soil map.
Okay,
And that's a type of soil, but
so this is not
when
right,
we put the land in current use, we went right across these slopes right here and put everything from here on up into there. We're not going any higher. This highest point is right to the top of the tubing lane.
okay,
And when we did the current use, we went right across this cutoff here.
okay,
This whole-
so this is all just soil use maps?
That's, the blue lines are just soil, the red lines are kind of mine where it's,
This little dog leg down here, then it's still in use?
yes,
Okay. I mean, it's not in current use, it's recreational.
right.
Open.
I
Okay.
think we put the upper 570 acres, 670 acres, and we kept the 100 acres down below in regular use.
anyone else have any comments or questions? It doesn't seem that anyone does. I would,
I would just say that I think it's a very nice addition to our rural atmosphere around town.
I see no issues with it or problems that would make this board ask Mr. Bordeaux to generate any more information. As I see it, it's a pretty simple procedure here. You're not building any buildings, you're just gonna have a course for people to walk around on, whether they're hiking or throwing frisbees. It doesn't seem to have much of an impact. So I would like each member of the board to state whether they think that this is a require of any further review or not. I don't feel that it is a requirement of this board to request a site plan review for this low impact activity. That's my feeling on the subject. but everybody else has their right to generate their own feelings and opinions.
Mr. Chairman, I don't see a use for, a need for a site plan review on this.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
Low impact activity.
We've already gone through that process once, and I don't see any reason to subject the town or Mr. Bordeaux to that either, but how does everyone else feel? Steve?
I agree. I think it's a good addition to what he has. The only question I would have, if you're going to be operating this during hunting season, maybe put up a sign saying, wear some blaze orange.
Right cow on the side of a
Yeah.
cow.
Yeah, you're not, are you in the woods with this a lot?
You know, I mean, it's probably 50% open and 50%, you know, wooded. You know, that's kind of the fun of it, is shooting between the trees. And
Have you given any consideration to posting something up in the woods saying disc golf is being played? I don't
you know, we could. I mean, most of the people park there and then head. They'd be walking right through the course to get to the hunting ground.
Yeah.
They'd like to think that that guy carrying that gun can put a little bit of 2 and 2 together, but.
Yeah, do they ever come in from any place else? Probably not. But
You know, well, we had one guy, when he shot a moose, he had started on New Portsmouth Road in Middleton, and he'd come over the mountain the back way.
yeah, well, hunting season, it probably only a small overlap there,
Yeah.
but there is still an overlap. Well, that could be a source of concern, but
Do you have operation dates in mind from when would you gonna open the course to when you would close the course for the season?
You know, you'd probably, you know, Mother Nature would dictate that a lot, you know, as soon as the tubing and the snow goes, because we use the tubing lanes as a couple of holes, you know, as soon as the snow goes, we'd open up, and then it would probably run right till, you know, first snow, or if we didn't get early snow, till at least we had to start making the snow for the tubing. But with this running and the tubing, we'll be, you know, pretty much 12 months a year. You might have that little mud season, melt season, or
Mud golf.
a little bit, yeah.
They call them hazards.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, hunting season, rifles start, I think, November 7th, right at that time frame usually.
it might be a good idea to
It's right around
post
the time
something.
when golf
Sorry.
courses are closing up anyway.
Yeah.
The activity gets way down.
It might be a good idea to post something on the entry for hunters and everybody, like, please show courtesy. It's something that you could word quite nice. That'd be a good idea. Beware of the fact that hunters do hunt on this.
Yep.
Yeah, Ed.
Having owned and operated a disc golf course in the late 80s,
You
early
did.
90s, it's a very low impact, and when the weather breaks in the spring, the people come out to use it, whether there's nothing else going on or not. And like hardcore regular golf people, there'll be people there playing it right up until it's snow on the ground. But our course had virtually no open area. It was wide paths, and it was alongside the campground, and you didn't even know people were there until they came. They got their, they paid their deposit, got their discs or their scorecards, and they went off and did their thing, and it was a great thing and minimal impact. Yep. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't see a problem with
We've
it.
been really trying to balance the fine line with, you know, what we can do to be low impact and not, I mean, the promoters that come out of the woodwork, they wanna have concerts and hill climbs and this and that. I mean, I get a promoter a week that wants me to do something up there, and we just keep turning them down, just trying to take the nice peaceful route.
Jim?
I agree with the whole pretense of the golf, but to be the devil's advocate and to say headaches that we have gone through previously, we may still want to get the form filled out and go with the public hearing. as is listed in our new rules of procedure. Oh, it's listed in our new rules of procedure that we do have to have the form filled out and have the public hearing within 30 days thereafter, just to be the devil's advocate and save possible headaches. Because you went through all this before, and I think we need to go through the same kind of thing again.
And I'm not really opposed to that. If you were in Milton, where I sit on the planning board, you'd have to fill out an application, you'd have to notify the abutters, and you'd have a public hearing. What I'm trying to get out of, and then we have we have site plan review, and then we have a site plan determination down there, and it means if somebody's been in for a site plan review recently and they got one on file, then they go in for a site plan determination. And yeah, you notify the abutters, you're gonna do this, you have your public hearing, you do the application, but you don't require the 30 items of 2-foot topo and this and that. You kind of waive all that because of a previous site plan. So, you know, and I'm not against doing a site plan and letting the abutters know. I mean, I've told most of them anyways, but still.
Well, I want everybody on the board to voice their opinion
Yeah.
before we get into a determination of what we're gonna require.
I think we could probably predetermine that a lot of where it's very low impact, a lot of it isn't necessary, just a general outline, items such as signs for no hunting, no shooting people without a permit.
I'd like Cliff to get back to the meeting before we go too much further.
Just to save that.
You know, and if that's what the board decided, I'm not opposed to that.
Well, we have several options. I need to look at my rules of procedure.
This preferred.
We do have a permit for this, the application, have you filled any of that out yet?
I have not.
Okay.
You know,
That's great.
again, you have a permit, when the rec zone and the rec zone committee formulated the different groups, you put this in a permitted use, disc golf in a permitted use, and then you guys had a breakdown of a number of activities that required a conditional use permit. That was not one of them. This was in the truly permitted use.
This was in a permitted use.
This
The way the
was-
ordinance reads,
Yeah.
as specified in the zoning ordinance of the town of Brookfield, New Hampshire, excuse me, this is how the conditional use permit for the rules of procedure reads. As specified in the zoning ordinance of the town of Brookfield, NH, the Rec 1 district has both permitted uses and conditional uses. Should a landowner in the Rec 1 district seek to implement a conditional use, explicit prior approval is required from the town of Brookfield, New Hampshire Planning Board in the form of a conditional use permit. As per town of Brookfield, New Hampshire zoning ordinance, since this application is filed, it says filled. Should be F-I-L-E-D, not F-I-L-L-E-D. We have to correct that, George. The planning board has 30 days to review it for completeness, accept the application, and conduct a public hearing. This very tight timeline has been established for the benefit of the applicant, and the planning board requests that the applicant may make every effort to ensure this application is filled out correctly prior to its filing. That one's spelled right. If you have any questions about the application, how to address it, please contact the planning board chairperson or the administrative assistant. As I read that, and we created it.
The disc golf is not in that category.
Pardon me?
Disc golf is
Is not in the conditional use category.
It's a permitted use.
It's a permitted use.
Permitted.
It's in the permitted use. Yes, I understand that. We were all here for that, most of us. So it is the option of this board to go in either direction, to either waive the requirement or request that a permit be filled out. It is our option. And each and every one of us has to make a decision on which one of those alternatives we support. And we really need Mr. Camp to come out of the office for this.
Can I see that for a minute?
One thing I didn't realize, I didn't remember that that had been put into the permitted use, there was a little bit ago.
Yeah.
As far as that specific.
We
I
have
just
the-
want to make sure that we save any future headaches. from
No, no,
permits.
you're right, you're right. We were embroiled in a
It was fun.
legal thing. But each member of the board has to make a decision on which direction we want to go with this. I personally believe that this is a permitted use, it's so low impact that we can waive the site plan review and require Mr. Bordeaux to do, not apply for that and apply for public, and create a public hearing by his application. I don't think we need to do that for this particular use. Sometime in the future, if there's a greater impact, yeah, here you go, of something he would like to do up there, we might have to request that then. That's my opinion, but everyone here has their own. Now, you, Cliff.
Yep,
I just read the rules of procedure,
okay.
which states that we have to have a public hearing, et cetera, for conditional use application, but not for permitted uses. And disc golf is listed as a permitted use during the site plan review we conducted for Moose Mountain
Okay.
last time.
I just would like to, I'm all for it, trust me. But, so there's no legal hiccups. This is a change of use of what is currently allowed on the mountain. So as we proceed forward, we need to make sure that we are legally walking in the right steps. I don't think that, to be honest, I don't think that a site plan review is necessary. It is such low impact. But again, strange things happen in this town. So we just need to make sure that we've crossed every I and dotted every T.
You cross your eyes and dot your T's?
And make sure that we're not telling Mr. Bordeaux something that's gonna come back and put hiccups in the process.
Okay, well, what do you consider the dotting of the i's and the crossing? If you did it,
To be honest, if we're gonna waive site plan review, we need to make sure that we have the authority to do so, because like I said, this is a change of use. And according to our,
we have the rules of procedure again.
you gotta look at our zoning ordinance, that's where we got
That's what I
trouble last
just,
time.
that's what I just read, and you were in there, so
Well,
I'm gonna read it again.
I'd like to, just to point out, under rec zone, permitted uses, the permitted uses in the recreational zone are listed in Appendix E, and then the first subheading under A, permitted uses not requiring a permit.
Is that under there not requiring a permit?
Yep.
And so now I'm gonna look up the
That might
appendix.
solve everything then.
Well, it's actually right here in the,
Appendix E, permitted uses, disc golf.
Okay.
well, it says it also in the introduction as well. It says that, what I just read, that if it's a permitted use, a conditional use requires this, and a permitted use does not require. That, what I gave everybody the option. We have the right to either request it either way, to waive it or require, and then I gave my opinion, but everybody else has their opinion, and we're gonna go with the majority of the people on the board, and that's the way it is. So,
I wanna see this go smooth, I wanna see it without any hiccups, and, I'm on record for all for it.
mhm. So is your suggestion that we have a site plan review, not site plan
No,
review,
no,
or have Bob fill out a permit and,
no, it doesn't require a permit.
no, that was my statement.
But because it is a change of use from what is currently being done on the mountain.
That's being done, yeah.
Right, so under our zoning ordinance, under site plan review, you need to look at that. Because that's what got us in trouble last time. We were gonna waive site plan review, and the town got sued.
Yes, it did.
So if we have the authority to waive the site plan review, we just need to verify that we have that authority under our current zone. So that
Well,
Bob's not in motion.
we're not gonna give Bob an answer for sure tonight or not, because we're going to present this to council anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted
Yep,
to do it the right way myself.
I know that, and we understand that.
No hiccups. No
And
hiccups.
this board is not into thwarting you in any way. After what we all went through last time, it was fun.
And again, I'm not opposed to the site plan review and notifying the butters and having the public hearing. The only thing I would ask for the board is the leniency in your site plan review regs. You don't have a lesser category, you have the one with the.
But we have the right, in site plan
can
review, we
waive-
can
you can
waive
waive
certain
all
things
that.
within the site plan review.
And we are gonna give you that answer. But we aren't gonna give it to you this evening simply because Cliff's got a point. I mean, we certainly,
Oh, I agree.
I don't think anybody in the town is gonna argue with disc golf or make an issue about it, but
You ever thought about?
what I want is everybody's opinion on the board is how they feel about it, so that when we make a decision, or if I speak to the town attorney for 5 minutes on this subject, I can tell her what the board has in agreement on, or doesn't want. So she'll operate from there, because I'm gonna get her opinion. She'll say the best thing you do, or you can do this and it's not a problem. She has a copy of our ordinance, and we don't wanna go through that again. You don't, we don't.
We don't want to put out again.
Well, the disc golf is clearly listed in permitted use, and under conditional use does not have any mention of it whatsoever. I'm sure we can trust Bob to use due diligence as far as protecting his patrons. So I wouldn't see any reason to tie him up anymore and allow him to continue on with his efforts.
Well, it is true, he has a track record up there, being competent and all that. I mean, you know, that can go either way, yes.
Oops, I had it here. What I want to say, where is it? The 3 items that require a site plan review: new buildings, additions, change of use of a site or existing building. Because something is happening up there, it's not a change of use, it's still a recreational use. So it's not.
I'm not gonna argue any of these
No,
points.
I'm putting myself on record as to what I believe.
Okay.
Then you go to Article 12, relaxation of requirements. Upon request of the applicant, and for good cause, the board may waive any of the requirements contained herein, except that no relaxation may be granted which is in conflict with the Brookfield zoning ordinance or other applicable regulations. All such waivers shall be set forth in the notification to the applicant and shall be shown on the site plan approved. So, one is question, in my opinion, he's not changing the use of the land. He's using it recreationally, so there's no site plan review required. And if you examine all the things through, if you read through the article here, if he was increasing the number of attendants, that may trigger it, but he's not going to reach what he does on the tubing. He's not changing the flow of traffic. He's not changing anything other than just adding something else to go to the recreational zone for. So,
Hypothetically, yes. I'm not arguing anything.
Okay.
I just want everybody's opinion here.
well, that was mine.
That's where I'm going with this tonight, and Steve.
I think you should waive the requirement for a site plan review.
I also agree it should be waived. It's too low impact to do that.
Okay. So everybody here is pretty much in the same, of the same mind, and I don't disagree with that. I think that's all well and good. Before we absolutely waive it, I really wish to speak to council about this for a couple of minutes. She's really familiar with this. You remember she was at all of the meetings where we had that. It is the smart thing to do. Jim?
Should be able to move that we can waive any site plan review and give Bob our blessing pending council's grace on the
We
issue.
can make that motion.
I would love to make that motion right now.
We'll make it so George gets it.
I'd like to make a motion that the board waive site plan review pending lawyer or legal approval from our town lawyer, and wish Bob the best.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Let's vote on it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions or exceptions? Hearing none. The motion is a matter of record now. So what we're going to do is I'll contact the town attorney, run this by her, see what kind of input she has. I mean, you're not expecting to do disc golf in November, right?
We're like shooting for next
Yeah.
Memorial Day, something like that.
So the smart thing for us to do would be to, we'll talk it over with her. I'd like to get her input. I can relate to her how the board feels about it. And we will notify you in writing of our decision. Well, actually, we have to make the decision. We made the decision to allow this and to waive it. I have to think about the legal ramifications of, yes.
We just took a vote
Yep,
pending the attorney's
correct.
response. If the attorney responds back in favor in line with how we voted, it's notification via mail. That's it.
Yeah, I would say that. It all depends on whether there are any codicils or,
If she
Except-
does, if she has any exceptions or she says we can't do that, then we notify him via mail that,
I got you covered on that. I'm just thinking that she might have a little tweak or something, and that the board and Bob, we should all discuss the tweak before we just.
well, that's what I'm saying. If she has a tweak or something, you need to notify Bob with writing, and then it would be discussed at the next meeting.
Yeah, you put it on.
But if she says we can do it,
Yeah,
and there's no change to it,
that's my intent. Yep.
then at that point, this vote becomes legally binding.
So you will either get a letter from us that says there's no problem, or you have to come in and tweak this. How's that sound?
Either
Work
way,
on
you've
the
got a
tweak.
letter.
That's fine, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay?
Good.
I appreciate everyone's time.
Looking forward to it.
Yes. Okay. That is something we can put aside and move on here. Okay.
Like these.
Yeah. I know, everybody.
We get to keep one?
No,
No, I think
they should stay here.
they should stay on file here, all of them.
Good for you.
They're hard.
Take a picture of it.
Actually, there's only one that needs to stay on file, and you really could keep
So
them
if
if
you
you want.
really want a birdie one, you can have one.
The original.
No, actually, they should probably stay on all file. That way, if we ever need to respond back to them.
Right.
Okay, let me get into this. Okay, we're going to get into this, let's see what this says here, okay. Okay, FEMA's changed the floodplain map. This is important stuff. And I'm gonna read quickly and maybe just paraphrase some of this letter to Tom Welton last year, because I don't think you all need to hear this whole thing because it's ancient history at this point, but we've been re-notified by FEMA. And this has to do with the floodplain map. I gave everybody a copy of this, so I don't have to really read it again, actually. And the reason I had a copy made is because, and we've all got this.
Yep.
And the reason is because all these letters, NFIP, OEP, and there's a bunch of stuff on other pages. Actually, wait a minute. Grab the one that was dated November 23rd, 2011. The old one. To Ernest Brown. I've had that copy made for everybody too.
So we have two?
Yeah, you have a bunch of things there. November 23rd, 2011, to Ernest Brown, Chairperson, Board of Selectmen, Town of Brookfield, etc.
I don't think I had a copy of that.
You didn't make it, oh, okay. That's the one that has all of these, all right, let's get, maybe we have a different one here that has the same information on, let me look. The original yellow copy, George, let's see.
November 14, 2011?
Yeah, emergency planning.
Let me see, no, there's one here that has the explanation of what all of these abbreviations stand for. And I think it's imperative that everybody knows exactly what this stuff means, because it concerns residents of the town and their effect, the effect
The
of.
14th has the definition of terms.
I was gonna say, would you like me to read them off to you?
I'm really intimately familiar with all this at this point, but this is the to Tom Welton. Do you have this one? Did everybody get this one, George? Okay. FEMA, NFIP, OEP, FIS, all those things you read there have a meaning. And I have some examples of, for instance, the FIS, which is the flood insurance study. This is the stuff that's been done. And we have to update our ordinance, and they've given us,
So you'll,
oh, okay, you slid it. Yeah, we'll go through a long day pouring concrete. All right, here's a study. This is done by the Fed, and it's pretty interesting stuff for ducks and things, but it's a little dry. But it talks about flood protection measures, the floodplain, how it affects all this, every stream. This is Carroll County, every town, the whole bit. And this is what they base all of their stuff and all their ordinances on. Anybody's welcome to take this and look at it. Not home, though. It needs to stay on file here. So, if somebody wants this can tell them how they come to the conclusions they come to, and why we are going to have to update our ordinances to be in compliance, or the people that live in the floodplain will not be covered by federal insurance.
Oh, one house.
Well, it's two houses, actually, and two pieces of property.
Right.
But we owe it as a board to those folks to have our ducks in a row here, so in case we have a wet spring and they float away, they're covered. So, let me get back to that part. Now, which is the one, let's make sure we get the right one, because I don't remember all of this. The one that has the lines through it, George. Has everybody got that?
November
that's
14th.
the Tom Welton one. Yes.
Okay, that's the old one with Tom Welton, yeah. This was given to us last year. We don't know if any new stuff has come down from FEMA for this year. What they did was they sent us a new letter recently, and that was...
September 19th,
where's that one? Hold on.
right here.
Okay, this one is September 19, 2012, dear Mr. Camp, and it explains that we have to update all these regulations to show evidence that, and they want proof. They actually want to see proof that we've done this. Now, the reason that they are asking for that is they had a copy of our ordinances, and in that copy of our ordinance, they have redlined or taken things out that they want deleted, and then they want other things added and italicized and emboldened. And that is what is in this to Mr. Tom Welton last year. Now they're on our case pretty hard about getting it done, or the people won't get insurance. Excuse me. Let me just turn this off.
Hating that happened.
Yeah, I need to. It's gone. Okay, sorry about that, folks. We're back. That was one of my clients. Well, let's get into finish this, and then I'm going to excuse myself for a moment. Okay. Dear Mr. Camp, this is to notify the flood hazard determination, et cetera, and they're asking for us to update our ordinances. The entire board has to be aware of this and understand what the updating is, and that is, at this moment, Mr. Tom Welton's... Excuse me for a minute, please. I'm sorry to interrupt the meeting. I would like to put the meeting in 5-minute recess, if you would all please bear with me just for a
You
minute.
need time to read through all this stuff.
Take more than that. I have.
Basically, what it's saying is, if you look at it... George, why are you calling it?
You did that on
Because he
purpose.
likes his song better.
Oh, I thought we were having a 5-minute recess.
Well, we're only about 5 minutes. Okay, I'm sorry to distract everybody.
You calling the meeting to order?
I am calling the meeting to order. So, the reason I gave you the one with all the explanations of all the abbreviations is so that when you look through this business, you understand what they're talking about. What's that about?
That's when we adopted the floodplain.
Okay.
2007.
Yep. Good, very good. Well, we have to in order to have the federal flood insurance, because they're the only ones that will write a policy for people in the floodplain, is the point. So consequently, if we don't adopt this and place it in our ordinances, then the Fed will not allow the insurance to operate. Consequently, and all those abbreviations are on the front, first and second page, so that you will all understand what the heck this is about, depending on how deeply you want to delve into it. But we are going to change this as a board, not as a housekeeping item. One of us is going to move, probably me, that we adopt the language changes as offered by FEMA. And I'm hoping that there are no more this year, and that they sent us this recent letter strictly about the stuff they sent Tom Welton last year when he was chairman, which we didn't adopt. So, how much more familiar do you guys want to be with these items before? Yes?
Our rules of procedure say that we can't be distributed information on one night and vote on it the same night. We have to have time to stew it over, and I think
We have
it's,
to notify public.
10 days prior.
yeah. We can't vote, if we're distributed this information tonight, we can't vote on this information for 10 days. Just so you know.
Even though we were distributing that information last
The board
This is a federal law. I
Okay.
don't know that,
We-
all right, I suppose it's
But we do
true.
have to follow our laws also. We could call a special meeting for this specifically if necessary.
Well, I don't think they're gonna,
Set that speeding.
yeah, I hear you. I don't think that they're going to do anything to us about federal insurance within the next 30 days. What they're saying is if we don't give them proof of the fact that we've made the changes,
Yeah.
then they will not insure the people in the floodplain.
I'm sorry, just to clarify something, with the letter that was sent to me, FEMA has not received any comments on the preliminary copies of the FIS report and firm. Accordingly, the FIS report and firm for your community will become effective March 19, 2013.
Yep.
Before the effective data, FEMA will send you a final printed copies of the FIS report and firm. Nowhere in here does it say you have to make changes to your zoning.
Yes, it does.
In the
Show me.
previous one, I believe.
It absolutely does.
It says, amend existing regulations to incorporate any additional requirements of paragraph 60.3B,
Yep.
adopting all standards of paragraph 60.3B and a new comprehensive set of regulations, or showing evidence that the regulations previously been adopted that meet or exceed the minimum requirements of paragraph 60.3.
And this is
So
not in your
where
letter,
you at on
Cliff. This is the letter, these are the changes in 60 dash.
May I ask for some
All
clarification?
right, wait a minute, let me read this. For now, the most important action is to begin the zoning ordinance amendment process for the required changes. By adopting these amendments at the 2012 town meeting, your community will remain eligible to participate in NFIP. Our goal is to keep you enrolled in the program while not risk suspension, so we will do all we can to assist you in this process. Which means we must put these changes in our ordinances. We have no choice if we want to stay enrolled in this process, which ensures those two people. I mean, we're doing it for those folks because they're the only people in the floodplain. The point is, the changes are not in your letter, Cliff. They're in this letter to Tom Weltman. That's what you take a look at them. It shows, and it outlines, it says, highlighted, bracketed, strike through fronts are stuff that they want us to delete. And the stuff that they want put in italics, highlighted, bold-faced italics font. That's what they want us to do. And it wasn't demonstrated in the letter to you, except the letter to you says that we have to do that in order to retain this. So this board has to make that action. That's all. Only place I'm going with this. And your letter doesn't really state that. They don't say you're going to be penalized,
I
but
understand, but regardless, we're not gonna be able to pass this until the March town meeting anyway. And on March 13th, those two reports that they're talking about become effective
yep.
for the town. So
So we're starting the process now.
yeah, we're just gonna housekeep.
We're starting the process. We're taking care of this business. Steve, did you have something?
I just was going to question the time frame because the federal government ends their fiscal year on October, 1st of October, where they start their new one. So I didn't know if that had any effect with this.
No.
But now you're into
No,
March.
it's in the town meeting.
It's into March now, so it's fine.
Yeah, but we're going to start this process. And Tom put it off because you didn't have to deal with it. And that was fine. We're just gonna get it dealt with and it's on the way. And then we don't have to worry about it anymore. But the process is going to be according to our rules of procedure. We're not going to vote on this tonight, yeah.
Is anybody on this board familiar with what paragraph 60.3B is?
Yep, it's right over here somewhere, I gotta find it
It's in
though.
that book.
Yeah, but there's an example of it here someplace, and it's in one of these papers here. It has to do with the relationship of the floodplain to all these abbreviations and agencies and studies, et cetera. How you will comply with, for instance, NFIP is the National Flood Insurance.
Yeah, I realize all that.
Yeah, okay. How these changes relate to that. 63 is what is the RSA on all this stuff. And, and one of these papers has an example of what's related to these changes, and I gotta find it, so.
And also on the back of this is their attachment 3, which has to go into our site plan review.
Yep.
At the board's earliest convenience, it says.
Now, where did you find at its earliest convenience, Cliff?
It says, in addition, NFIP requires specific language and subdivision and site plan review regulations.
What page are you on and what document? I've got 8
The
documents
one
here.
that you got in your hand,
Okay, what page?
front page.
Okay, yeah.
which is contained in attachment 3. It's the second to the last
In addition,
paragraph.
okay,
We ask that you review your regulations and include this required language at the planning board's earliest convenience.
which could be March 13th. What we need to know is,
Well, we can add that into site plan review and subdivision without going to town meeting.
yeah, we can.
So, and that's what they're talking about, just this document.
Yep.
The rest of it has to go in front of town meeting.
Well, this is the document that this is what they want. What do you mean, this document? All these red lines, they're not red in the handout.
No. The changes to the zoning ordinance they want right away.
Yeah,
Actually, they were supposed to have been done last year.
right.
The document 3 on the very back of this thing that says attachment 3 on the very back page, that's the one that says at your earliest convenience. And then once they're done with all their firm and FIS maps and stuff, then we'll have to adopt the Carroll County firm and FIS. But that will take place later on. And that's kind of what this letter's about. Is saying
Right, I understand
We're
that.
not making comments on the firm and the FIS.
But we still have to adopt these zoning.
And we need to make changes to the zoning ordinance to be in
Correct.
compliance,
To comply, and we have to send them a copy as proof,
once it's passed.
once it's passed. Agreed. So, let's see what our next move is. I should get the rules of procedure out and see what our next move is here. God, I've got a headache. I'm just looking through a few more of these things. I just saw this tonight myself before the meeting. I came in at 4 o'clock to read it. Make sure.
And actually, the 2 lots that are listed here will no longer be on the floodplain map. It's saying that what is that? The letter of map change, the LOMC, not
Yep.
incorporated. So 3 Piney Road, Brookfield, New Hampshire, and Lot 18, which is 5 Piney Road, will be, these modifications will be in effect. So those are actually being taken out of your floodplain. You won't have anything in the floodplain.
Really, where is that now?
If you look on the letter dated, addressed to me September 19, 2012, page 1 of 2, which is this little diagram, it's like the back of page 2. So it looks like that.
I can't see that, but.
Final summary of map actions. Community Brookfield Townhouse.
I don't, I've got it right here. I got it.
It says modifications affected by the LOMCs listed below will not be reflected on the revised firm panels because the scale limitations or because the LOMC issued had determined that the lots or structures involved were outside the special flood hazard area, as shown on the firm. These LOMCs will remain in effect until revised firm has become effective. These LOMCs will be reevaluated free of charge 1 day after the revised firm becomes effective through a single revalidation letter that reaffirms the validity of the previous LOMCs. Sounds like a whole lot of sporadic spatter. Don't be nice.
Well, the issue is,
Mr. Chair, if that's being taken off the floodplain. that
let's
could save
digest that,
person-
make sure
save
it's
money.
exactly what they're saying here.
That could save that person some money on insurance.
Oh, I went, several years ago, I went round and round. Well, it was after the Mother's Day flood.
Yeah, they weren't even affected.
And they weren't affected.
Mhm.
They tried to get some help for some stuff outside, and
They weren't.
they wouldn't help them. Not because we didn't do nothing, but because that stream did not have a base flood elevation, and it just made their yard soggy.
I'll tell you what
Like
will
everybody else's.
flood is the beaver dam.
Well,
Yeah, but that's.
right in here, this FIS, the
Damn
study,
beavers.
I know.
the study here has that particular property and all the streams listed and where their floodplains are and what elevations that is. That's in this FIS. So, it may not be in that one. It will be there actually, but actually the study itself is in here in a graph.
I think it was the same, it's the same one.
It is the same one.
Yes, it is.
Yep. And this is the graph of the floodplain. These two documents accompany each other. Ooh.
So I make a motion that we take this stuff home, we read it, we read the material that's here, and at the next meeting, we move forward with it. There's nothing we can really do tonight on it.
No, I'm not insisting that we do.
No, I'm just saying, so.
We all just have to get on the page because it is our job to deal with it.
Right.
It's the last one, right?
Could we add to include public notice at next meeting to vote on it?
What's that?
Could we add to put in public notice for the next meeting so we can vote?
We're not holding a public hearing,
No.
No, we have to hold a public hearing?
eventually,
Okay.
once we have it all done. You don't wanna hold a public hearing before it's been rewritten. And most of it's done right there for you in the
Yeah, it's all
letter.
done for us.
So George just has to type it up in his spare time.
The only thing I'm going to do is request that we contact them. I don't imagine they're going to have any different amendments this year. We talked about it, but it's probably going to be, it's the same business as last year. It'd just be a shame to do this and then have them come up with the 2012 amendments. And then we have to go back and do the process again, but
No, they're
probably,
under the firm and the FIS now.
yeah.
So we just have to add that language to the subdivision and site plan review.
Yep,
And then we have to make the changes to our zoning ordinance as
Yep.
outlined in the letter to Tom Weldon.
and then.
And then once those are done and adopted, we send them a copy of it, show them what it's done. Then we wait for them to send us the final FIS and firm, and then we vote on town meeting to adopt that.
Yep. Well, everybody has their copies. So take them home and read them.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we have a motion on the floor.
I second that motion.
Yep, very good. What was the motion? Read it again, because it's getting late.
For everybody to take their materials home, read it, we'll put it all together next
And you
week.
seconded it. Oh, I'm sorry, okay, I'll get into my position as chairman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Take the materials home and read them. Okay, we got by that. Okay, where's that letter now? George, do I have that over here, or do I leave it back in there? This is the discussion of New Hampshire's Association of Regional Planning Commission's legislative policy document.
I have a bunch of copies of that if you
You do?
Yep.
All right, let's have them. I'll take this home and read it. Yeah, I can read it, so.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, can I begin?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay, what you're looking at is the 2012-2013 New Hampshire Association of Regional Planning Commission's legislative policy document. Now, what this is, or what the New Hampshire Association of Regional Planning Commissions is the overarching organization over the 9 regional planning commissions that are in New Hampshire. We are part of the Stratford Regional Planning Commission. Now, there's a legislative committee, policy committee arm of this regional planning commission at the top level. what they do is they get together and they coordinate what they're going to do that year down in the legislature. They actually come up with this document, and it's sent out to everyone. I don't have enough copies, but it's basically a Excel spreadsheet of all of the legislature documents that are going to come down and get voted on. And here's an example. They either oppose or support it, and we'll look at this one. HB 1222, the title of the bill is Relative to Protected Shoreland Permitting Fees. The sponsor of the bill is Dan McGuire. The New Hampshire Association of Regional Planning Commissions opposes this, and what they do is they have a person from that policy committee send a letter down to the committee, and they usually send someone also to testify against legislation. Originally, this document was brought up in the executive committee, where it was very quickly voted on under protest. This document then, the next week after they all watched the videotape, they realized that the executive board is not supposed to vote on this. The policy committee is. That's the step down from the executive committee. Last meeting, we had 88 public participation in the audience about this document, and amongst other things. If you read the first one on here, I have a lot of problems with some of these policies. I only believe that a regional planning commission, when you ask the public what a regional planning commission does, under livability, it says encourage the coordination, cooperation, and communication of communities to work with each other. That's pretty much what the public thinks the regional planning commissions do. The second one they do that I think they should be is promote the establishment of programs and incentives which promote product stewardship and the proper disposal of household hazardous waste. All of these other items are a lobbying attempt, and I'm still trying to figure out why a regional planning commission that membership communities pay dues to is going to the legislature without the public's knowledge and lobbying for these items. So it says, number 3, support the development and increased use of sustainable, renewable energy. Now, is that in the purview of a regional planning commission? Personally, I don't, and a lot of the other commissioners on the commission also don't. But we're being asked to vote on this November 8th. Vote that we support every one of these, which then allows the committee at the state level to go and write letters and lobby for these things. And I'm bringing this to the planning board because it says in my commissioner's handbook that I'm supposed to keep the towns apprised, with the town I represent, apprised to this type of thing. Now, how can I viably go and vote to accept every single one of these if the towns don't know what they are? So, has anybody had a chance to read through any of these? Did you want to? And what are people's thoughts on some of these items here?
I think the prosperity thing is particularly interesting.
I like the vagueness of a lot of the
So is
initiatives they
mobility.
put forward.
Now, we all know that the governor signed an executive order to create the Commission on Sustainable Water Quality. And number 8 under sustainability is it says support appropriate mechanisms for regional water, wastewater, septic tank, waste, stormwater, and solid waste management and facilities. They never really explain how they're going to support. What mechanisms are they talking about? The Regional Water Commission has stated in their paperwork that they want to make water a communitarian asset throughout the state. Just like how Oregon, all the water in that state is controlled and regulated. That is one of the things they actually want to do at the
Even your own well water?
Yes.
Yes. They spoke of adding easements to people's private property so they can access the property and control your well, to control perhaps put a meter on it.
Yeah,
But these-
usage.
Yeah, these are items that they've spoken of.
Yeah, they did it in Stockton, California, where they sold the water rights to an outside company.
They meter the wells?
They meter all water in the city of Stockton, within the city limits of Stockton, is controlled and owned now by a outside private company. It's done a lot over in foreign countries where private corporations, there's like 5 large ones that literally own a huge portion of the world's water supply.
Now, if number 9 under sustainability, it says support financial incentives for public water supply systems to interconnect their systems, to implement conservation measures. They don't, this is very open-ended items, and I'm just kind of confused about why the policy commission is being asked to vote on such a thing. And we're probably going to pick this apart, but I was kind of stunned that at the executive level it was already passed, and then they had to go back and rescind the vote. So there's going to be more discussion on this on the 8th. Under prosperity, promote an adequate and diverse supply of quality and affordable housing. Now, how is a regional planning commission, whose sole purpose should only be to encourage the coordination, cooperation, and communication of communities to work with each other, how are they going to promote adequate and diverse supply of quality and affordable housing? I mean, this is so open-ended. Now,
What's a diverse, affordable housing anyways? Does anybody know what that
Section
is?
8,
Huh?
section low-income housing.
Yeah, but what's diverse low-income housing? Purple, yellow, and red? I don't get it.
No, they're talking about levels of income.
now you notice number 1 is support workforce housing. Now, it's this very document, last year's document, 2011-2012, was very similar to this. It was that document that allowed the regional planning commissions to go and receive the grant funding for the Granite State Future Agreement, which does just this, promotes an adequate and diverse supply of the quality and affordable housing in the area by using the equity teams and the Fair Housing Act. So this type of document is what allowed the Granite State Future Agreement and grant systems like that to be supported by the Regional Planning Commission. So my question to you is, by looking at this, does anybody have any problems they see overwhelmingly on this page that I can bring up in this meeting on the 8th?
Seems like a lot of things that they were trying to do on a local and regional area, they're trying to push through state now because they've gotten so much resistance.
I don't think any of
Trying
these,
another route to get the same initiative pushed through.
I don't think any of these things are explicit at all.
Yeah, it's way too general and open-ended.
It's ambiguous and it doesn't state anything, and they want you to support whatever it is they want to interpret it at later on, and I can't see.
You gotta vote on it to find out.
Just approve it, they'll fill in the blanks themselves.
Well, promote a diverse supply of quality and affordable. Diverse could mean what he said, income, but it's a diverse supply
You may want to
of
mention-
quality and affordable housing. To me, quality and affordable housing means you're going to give them a great building at a low price. Does diverse mean we got the $200 apartment, the $300 apartment, and the $400? I mean, it doesn't say anything at all. It's understandable.
And the people you're gonna put in it, are they working or are they on welfare?
Of course.
Well, also another thing, is this gonna be governed by elected officials chosen by the people, or is it gonna be ruled by committee?
It's gonna be ruled by the federal government.
Yeah, bureaucrats.
Yeah,
Appointed bureaucrats.
probably.
Any elected or any input by the public.
Nobody from our community.
Now, under
I
livability,
don't know.
it says support regionalism. Now, the way they define to me what regionalism is to find regional solutions to local problems.
In other words, you comply with the big picture, not do it your way in Brookfield.
Not leaving the communities unique to their own situations. They're trying to
Correct.
make everybody,
It's giving Brookfield
We
sidewalks.
could tell them the big problem is the federal government.
In exchange for our water.
And take away our agricultural aspect that we all love so much.
Now, under mobility, it says, number 5, support alternative funding sources for roads, bridges, and multimodal transportation, including bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. What alternative funding sources are they talking about?
State income tax.
UN,
I'll give you one
State sales tax.
I'll give you one that they already talked about, which is they support adding the vehicle miles traveled tax on your
No.
vehicles. So that is what they mean by supporting alternate funding sources. I bring this document to you because, and I asked the other commissioners, most of them have not brought this back to their towns. And I just want it known that this is what goes on at the Regional Planning Commission level. And they're not using your membership dues, which we don't pay, but they don't use membership dues to lobby the legislature. But the policy group at the state level does create letters like this that they send to the legislature and people that make testimony on certain bills. So I just need to make you understand that that's what they do at the Planning Commission.
You know what the problem with this kind of stuff is? It's like trying to swim in Jell-O. Yeah.
Well, depending on who your swimming partner is.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Now, it says here under the last page for the annual legislative action priorities. Now, it says action priorities for a reason. And the first one is support the restoration of state funding to the 2010 level for the Regional Planning Commission's targeted block grant. Now, all of these items, it says support, increase, promote, support, encourage, restore, support. Now, if we have a representative form of government, and I'm supposed to go to my elected representative, and they're supposed to make these decisions, and you don't know about them, this board's going to the legislature, and it's working to support these items. And I'm just trying to, how do I make sure that the town and my elected officials understand what all of this stuff is? Like, what would be the best thing that I could do to educate my elected officials about this stuff?
Give them copies of this. It's all philosophical, Ed. If you can't read between the lines and understand that most of this is.
Now, who's voting on this? I'm sorry.
Each member town on
Yeah.
the policy committee will be voting. Now, we're either gonna, I'm sorry, November.
Yeah, that's what I
You
said.
may want to remind our elected officials of their promises for
Your words.
transparency in government. And that this,
No, that's the problem.
definitely,
Well, they're-
follows up that.
They're
That's back to a
Yeah,
step.
ambiguity is
the
what
planning
they-
commission. They don't have a promise like that to you.
Yeah, but the people have to vote to approve this.
Ed would be our vote.
No.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
On November 8th, there's also going to be the vote on this by all the commissioners and an open house, an open forum, question and answer, in depth, of the Granite State Future
Where?
at 150 Wakefield Road, Rochester, New Hampshire,
Right behind the high
community
school.
center.
Community Center.
I know that.
This leads to a very important conversation is, did we receive a letter back from Cynthia Copeland, the Regional Planning Commission, about doing the presentation of the
Nope.
Granite State Future Agreement?
Not yet.
I verbally asked her again to just respond to the letter, and it was ignored. It was brought up in the last commission meeting about that very subject. And I was told, your planning department and your town can come to the open house That's how you will learn about the Granite State Future Agreement. As a commissioner, I was never given any type of training session, etc., about the Granite State Future Agreement. Was never given one. I had to drive down to the Regional Planning Commission in Rockingham, and I had to videotape their executive board being given a training session on the Granite State Future Agreement and how they're going to implement it. That presenter, his name is Michael Goldberg of Action Media. After I videotaped it the next day, he sent me a cease and desist letter, not wanting that presentation to be online.
I hope you put it on.
It is online. Well, it's online. I asked my
Freedom of the
lawyer.
press, you can't do that, it was open to the public.
Does he have a court order?
My issue for bringing that up is I'm not accustomed of a government subdivision, which a regional planning commission is, doing something like that. I would think there would have been more transparency, more openness. And it seems the only way we're going to get a presentation and get the understanding of what the Granite State Future Agreement is, which this policy document allows them to do, is to go down on November 8th and go to that meeting. So does anybody have any questions about anything on this? Is there anything that you feel is what the Regional Planning Commission should be doing?
It should be shut down.
Yeah, I was gonna say none of it.
Well, you just said something. You just said that it should be shut down. Well, that was on the spreadsheet. That was one of the items that was in opposition. And they actually have a letter, subject HB 1561, relative to discontinuing the regional planning commissions. You can read this. This was the letter that was given to the legislature about doing such a thing. You can read that at your leisure. So this is going to, and November 8th, there will be a long discussion about this and the Granite State Future down at the regional planning commission.
Prior to the vote?
Prior to the vote.
What room?
Under prosperity, encourage mixed-use developments in areas where appropriate. Have you got an insight into what that means?
Well,
Mixed-use developments in areas, what's a mixed-use development?
Mixed use would be a cluster development, like a condo with the bottom floor being retail and people living above it with just enough parking. And I believe it's 2 miles from employment, schools. It would comport to the livable, walkable communities.
The picture, what's his name? He had,
Ken?
Ken, yeah. He had a picture of that little setup when we had that presentation.
Correct. And then, see, I was also told that everything in this policy document comports to all of the state and local master plans. Now, from what you know about our master plan, does our master plan comport to everything that's on here?
No,
Probably nothing.
very little.
Under prosperity, work closely with state and local governments in promoting regional economic development in partnership with businesses, with business organizations.
Sounds an awful lot to me like managing people's personal businesses from governmental offices.
Though it does shed a lot of light on what Jerry Milroy was trying to force down our throats during that period of time when we were doing our master plan.
Who?
Jerry Milroy, he was the regional.
Oh, yeah, I
He was
remember.
Stafford Regional Representative, and finally we told him to go home and don't come back until we'd call him if we needed him, because he kept putting sidewalks in our downtown area, which we don't have a downtown area. And every time we take it out, the next time we get a working document, it would be back in there.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I'd like everybody to do is take this home and maybe make a little note, send me some email of what people think about some of these items here. Like I said in the meeting last week, that under sustainability number 2, which is to support programs to promote the proper disposal of household hazardous waste. There's nothing wrong with that. And then just encouraging the coordination and cooperation of communication of communities to work with each other is the only 2 I can see should be the mission or should be what they're supporting. They have to define this better. By just saying that they're going to promote things and support development, support sustainable use.
Well, like with number 3, for instance, support the development and increased use of sustainable renewable energy. Technology today isn't the greatest for sustainable renewable energy. Talking ocean waves, windmills, that kind of business. And whenever I see somebody say support the development and increase the use of that type of thing, it means tax money away from me so that they can build something to create this kind of thing, which is inefficient. It's all very nice to talk about wind farms, but efficiently, they're not. They don't.
Any of that development should be in the private sector. Government shouldn't be involved in it at all.
But that's what they're trying to
Right.
get involved.
They want it all.
And the only way they can get involved is to tax us to
Right.
spend the buck.
Mr. Chairman, here's a good example of that. Let's just say if we wanted to run these buildings on a wood pellet boiler. The Regional Planning Commission, if we went to them, they would find us grants, federal grants, etc., in order to install such a device. And that would be what they mean by supporting the development of increased sustainable renewable energy.
So the federal grant means they tax the money from someone to give us money for free.
Right.
Basically, that's what we're talking
For
about.
free, no, there's always strings attached.
It wouldn't be
Yeah.
free.
But we get the freebie with some
It's
other
just the
poor,
carrot.
well, actually, we're paying for it ourselves because we're all in it together.
They'll take your
And
land.
then they're gonna put strings attached to that grant that the
Oh, yeah,
town's
of
gonna
course.
have to dance to.
Now, under 4, support sustainable use and conservation of our agriculture and forest resources. How are they supporting sustainable use of those resources?
You know, tell us how we can grow, what we
And
can grow.
forest
on
resources,
our-
They're
See-
restricting them.
that's.
I think they do a
sounds-
pretty good job at managing them right now.
Mhm.
So to me, it just means more regulation.
Well, and if the board passes, if the commission passes this, and they continue to go and lobby the legislature to support those measures, it's going to affect your private property. I just want the town to understand that this is what this means.
So the best thing we can do is go straight to the State House and support the abolishment of the regional planning commissions.
Don't forget to tie that one in with number 7. Provoke the
We sure
conservation
can.
and preservation and protection of surface and groundwater resources. You fertilize your field, or I fertilize mine. I've got marsh area down a little ways. They may tell me I can't do anything. Even if it's perfectly natural and all again.
Not only that, but they're gonna meter your well water and make you pay for the water you pull out of the ground.
And if I want to run rainwater off my roof into that retention pond on my property, they're gonna wanna know how much is going in there and where it's going from.
Put a meter on your rain barrel.
That hasn't happened yet, but
No, but there has
They've
been
been
people taken
talking
to
about
court for using, retaining
Rainwater.
rainwater without, without asking
Proper
permission
permits.
from the planning board, the zoning.
Is it legal or, how should I say, proper for a letter to be written when everybody on the planning board is signing it, promoting the abolishment of that and sending it to the legislature? Or is that kind of jumping the gun?
I don't know that the planning board itself can speak for the town of Brookfield. I think anybody could sign a letter saying member of a planning board, chairman of a planning board, but
Sure we could.
You can hold a public workshop
you could do that.
where we discuss it, and those people interested could come in and give in their 2 cents, and then the board could support or
Yep.
not support that endeavor with the State House based on that workshop.
See, all of these things are so ambiguous that they could mean anything anybody wants them to.
Isn't there a law that says that there has to be a planning commission though?
Yes,
That's what that's saying.
So they'd have to repeal that law.
yes.
That's what this.
But that's, the discussion now is this legislative policy document. I mean, if they already went through this last year about eliminating the planning commissions, if you knew everything that the planning commissions actually do, it's a lot more than that. I mean, without the regional planning commission's dealings with the federal government and the Federal Transportation Administration, in order to get our federal funding back from the feds, it would be literally, I don't know how towns could do that on their own. I mean, there are things that the regional planning commission.
They would have to turn to the state agencies to help them, instead of having a regional planning commission.
I mean, but that's another discussion for another time about
Yes.
if we should or shouldn't. The issue on the table is that policy document.
Well, I would just say vote against it.
Well, I only like two of them, like I said. I mean, do you agree?
I'd
with
rather
just-
lose two than gain all those other ones. I mean, I don't know if are they gonna blanket vote? Are they gonna vote on that whole sheet, or are they gonna vote on them one by one?
I was told one by one.
Oh, they are gonna be one by
Because,
one.
you know, some people do have problems. I'm not the only one. There's other people that have some problems with some of them. Some of them,
Yeah.
you know, can be tied into others. But-
Okay, so I think you had a good idea. Let's look them over. We'll have our independent comments, notes, or whatever, and contact you.
What time, November 8th?
Excuse me?
What time is the meeting on November 8th?
I think it's 7 PM. I'll have to get you the exact time.
What happened to the little calendar?
That's a Friday.
Thank you.
Okay.
They're holding it on Friday on purpose.
I have a question to the members of the board. Are any of you willing to do a bi-monthly meeting type of thing to get some of these other things dealt with, CIP? Because we are gonna run short of time. I know that's asking a lot, because it's,
I would be willing to make sure that we get things done properly.
there are a couple of things that I'd like to see done if we can this year, and that's CIP, and I admit I've been a little lax, but I've been pretty flat out. I've just had, you know, I've been buried.
I would like to caution the board to make sure that you keep in mind your budget for your assistance budgeted portion. You are getting dangerously close. When you get ready to set your new budget, that is something that you're going to need to really look hard at in regards to whether or not you want to increase that portion of the budget in order to cover any special meetings. I mean, we cut the budget pretty thin last year, and I understand that. So if you need, you know, this board's going to need to look at that budget and that budget item, but
How are we looking at our overall?
I thought I saw a copy of it floating around here somewhere.
Just look at it.
No, that's the critical housing.
Yeah.
I have it at home from 2 weeks ago. I'll get an updated copy probably tomorrow. But
What happens if we exceed the budget?
what happens if you exceed the budget?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never had a planning board exceed their budget.
Well, we pared it down to the basic bottom of the barrel, obviously, to keep taxes low, and I understand all that, and the way it works.
No,
But the
let
point
me
is,
look at the overall budget
okay,
and see what the overall budget is at this point in time. You may have funds in another area that you can move to that section and stay within your planning board budget.
I guess my point is that this is October, the next one is November, if we're gonna get CIP done, or the review of the home-based business. I mean,
I think you're pushing them too hard.
we haven't really pushed them hard at all,
The
that's the
CIP,
point.
there's nothing that says the CIP that has to be done at this next upcoming election. There's nothing that says that home-based business has to be done. When you rush through this stuff, that's when mistakes are made, and that's how things slip through the cracks and things get pushed in that you really don't want.
We're not rushing, Cliff.
Okay, I'm just saying. There's no emergency that says that they have to be on this.
They never have to get done, in fact, but we're not rushing, believe me. We are not rushing. We're not getting any work done at all on it. And there's some things that I wanted to throw in to the town ordinances. I wanted to restate cottage industry, certain things that already exist in there. I wanted to keep alive.
In the new ordinance.
If we do any additions, rewriting, et cetera, we are doing it under the parameters that the board is operating in unison to do something constructive here. That's what the point is. And the point is to make it a little bit, well, we all know what we discussed before on this. I don't want to rehash the whole thing tonight. But certain things, the way they are now, as was stated in the ordinance, that all things that are not permitted or prohibited is state law, and the only way around that
Is
to make it
permissible.
permissible. And we have to write that way in order to make that happen. Otherwise, we are subject to that, the way it's stated. The state law defines it for us. We have to redefine it in a different fashion. That's what I'm getting at. Now, we cannot do it this year, and it'll go on to the following year, and then we're hanging out there the same as we are now.
Why don't we consider, well, first of all, we have to finish the topic that Ed is dealing with.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ed.
Just have the final question. Is how is the planning board going to deal with the executive director outright ignoring and refusing our request, when legally they are supposed to respond when we ask for advice?
Legally there? Where's that stated in our RSA?
It's in the
charter, isn't it?
It's in my commissioner's handbook too. It's in the law.
It should be in the
They're
charter.
It's in
advisory
the law,
only.
okay.
They're advisory.
So that's
If a
when we go
member-
down there on the 8th and we tell them.
Why can't we send them a letter saying,
What is the legal recourse? That's the
That's my
question.
question.
there is no legal, we could sue them, but that's not gonna do us any good. We have to hire an attorney to do that. Doesn't have to be a monetary suit. I mean, you can't have them thrown in jail. I mean, that's just the way those things work. You have
Mr. Chairman,
something-
just a forceful
A letter.
letter
Yep.
on record stating that she's
Why
not.
don't you ask the county attorney to draft a letter? Just a simple, even if it costs us $30 to have her say, you know,
Cost you 30
You're not
bucks.
doing your
well,
job.
I'm just saying.
We may want to
Paralegal
consider,
might do it in a few minutes, hopefully.
may want to consider actual Carroll County, if we're using a county attorney, because they're Stratford County. Might avoid some conflict.
It's not separated by county. It's just the
It's a
name of it
region.
is Stratford.
I think
It's
we could draft a letter as a board that would be adequate.
You know, it's all Stratford.
Let me write something down here. Seeing that I'm going to talk to Laura Spector about one item, and I got her on the phone, we won't get billed for 2 phone calls. Why don't we just do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on.
Our regional planning rec is not responding to our requests. What should we do?
Wait a minute.
Town of Chandler's work.
Sure.
Okay.
We should CC our state rep. An example, to urge him to support HB 1561.
That's old. That's an old.
All right. Give it to me, Ed, the titles, et cetera. Cynthia Copeland.
Cynthia Copeland, the executive director.
Yep.
Of the Stratford Regional Planning Commission.
Okay, I got it. Now I can kill both of those birds with one stone.
Do you need to mention what it's in reference to?
Yes,
Federal grant program?
Yep.
Sustainable Communities Initiative?
yep.
What happened to this?
The bill failed. It was inexpedient to legislate, meaning it failed.
So you don't know, it got, failed to get presented to a vote? Or did it fail by vote, and how much was the vote?
It failed on committee, so it's in
Okay.
committee, they talked about it,
And they,
Scratch.
gotcha.
and they scratched it.
Okay, we've come to we've handled all this. Ed, have you pretty much finished with this?
Yes.
Thank you for your efforts.
So then I have a comment, because I had a comment, but I wanted to let Ed finish his.
All right, shoot.
My comment was regarding our bi-monthly meetings and all that we have to do. Why don't we put the CIP on the back burner and finish and work on your wording for the home business? And other than that, what is it that is so pressing that we need to go to bi-monthly meetings?
Well,
I would have a hard time going back to a bi-monthly meeting right now.
That's what I asked.
As busy as I
only
am.
because we're not doing it in committee, and we're doing it as a board, and when you meet once a month, we have to get it done by January, that's the way it is, in order to make it to the March meeting. And we've only got 2 more meetings until January. I'm not saying we have to do that. I would like to see the cottage industry thing dealt with.
My wording will be done. I was hoping to have it done before this meeting, and I did not get it done because of other constraints.
Yeah, I
on my time.
understand.
So
I got the same
I will
problem.
have it done, and to the chairman in the next 2 weeks, which is plenty of time to get it out to the members to be discussed at the following meeting. And
Okay.
in mine, I do keep cottage industry, I do keep home-based business, I do keep professional trades, and I added one word.
Well, get it to me, and I'll make sure everybody gets an email. And then we'll go from there. Anybody else have any creative thoughts on this? I have an email address. I'll give it all to you. I'm going to beg us all to close this meeting down pretty soon for the evening.
Fine with me.
I'm not feeling all that well tonight, and I really, sorry about that, folks. Hate to shorten the show, but had a rough day, and I've got to say, question is, are there any other member comments? No member comments. And then in that case, pardon me, the
Any
meeting
mail
is
that we need
adjourned.
to know about?
No. No, this is, you already got it. That was the mail with the FEMA thing and the, there's no mail.
So meeting is adjourned?
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
To be the shortest meeting?
I gotta listen to it, because it's 8:30.
That's pretty short for us.
I gotta listen